Listen!
Oh my God, welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat. I am Seth Macy. This is my first time hosting. I am extremely excited. I am joined today by Tom, Brian, and Peer, and we're going to talk about, of course, Nintendo. But first, I want to try out my new catchphrase on you guys. Ready? Right?
Wait, no, you can't. You gotta earn that. It takes a while.
I'm gonna just keep until one of them sticks. So I'm gonna say, "Hello there, Super Nintendos."
Man,
Peer's
that's
leaving.
Yeah, I'm out. That's
listening. Brian is disgusted.
Where is
I think you had a good run. This is a good run.
40 seconds.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Do we know when Casey's coming back? Like at least for the... No, that was great. That was great.
When does Monster Hunter come out?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to
Seth,
find that out.
You're doing awesome so far. You're at least in the top 20 NVC hosts of the year.
I'm definitely in the top 2 tallest, so I know that is of all time.
You're up there with Jose. Yeah,
I think Jose is like an inch taller than I am. So
yeah.
But that has nothing to do with Nintendo, which is what we're here to talk about. And we're going to talk about the Game Awards were last night. Did you guys know that? Were you paying attention?
Yes.
And of course,
Yeah.
The biggest news was, for this particular podcast, was obviously Sephiroth coming to Smash. And for about 5 seconds, everyone in the world thought that Mario was dead.
We did, but he's died a lot, and so it's okay.
And they killed Luigi in that other Smash video too.
That's right.
They really love killing the Mario characters.
Sakurai does not like them. He's a Kirby guy.
Yeah.
He's old school HAL Labs. He does not want to see Mario and Luigi succeed.
Well, let's talk about Sephiroth. Tom, you excited about Sephiroth? He's a sword character, but his sword is so long.
Yeah. That's a funny way to put it, but also it is kind of true. In some of the video that they showed, it didn't look like he was just swinging his sword, right? Like he looks like he has a little bit of a different flavor of a sword character. I saw somebody comment, I think it was on Reddit, they were like, no more sword characters, and then they saw the trailer and they were like, okay, one more sword character. I don't think anybody's really upset about this. It's really cool. It's also, from my perspective, extremely unexpected, because the vibe I always got with the way that Cloud was implemented was that it was kind of an icy relationship between Final Fantasy and Smash Bros. Obviously, he came back for Ultimate, so it's not like it was completely icy, but the fact that there was only one song and there wasn't really much variation with any of the stuff, it just felt a little cold. So it's cool to see that that's probably not a fair assumption and that they're putting in another character. That's really, really neat. It's very exciting.
Peer, are you excited for Sephiroth?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Sephiroth. I thought Waluigi's time had finally come. I feel like they're just gonna toss him out as a free character at the end of the season pass or something. No, but then when I was watching him, this is great. It makes sense that we're getting another villain character. We haven't had, we definitely have an imbalance of heroes to villains. And then Sephiroth is usually accompanied by one of the greatest musical pieces in all of Final Fantasy, right? And having One Winged Angel and all that in the game, and we'll see the final Smash soon, right? I think it's a really exciting character, despite being another sword fighter. And look back at the other season pass characters; they were also non-traditional, right? Steve is so different, and I would argue harder to play. And a sword fighting character, I think, is just generally a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, especially if Sephiroth. Look at every Xbox 360 live username, and it's something. I was actually Sephiroth for a while there. That's not really
that checks out. Are you drinking a beer, Peer?
No, it's morning here. It's Bionada.
Yeah, that could be a beer. I don't know what that looks like.
No, it's a German soft drink.
I'm glad you pronounced it because I thought it was Bionade. So
Could be.
Brian, do you have any thoughts?
Bionade sounds like a game that was coming to Switch. Yeah, I think this is awesome. I, to be completely blunt, wanted somebody that was a lot more. I wanted Kratos. I'll be straight up. Cool. Like I feel like there still really isn't like a PlayStation character in this game, but I feel like FF7 is so PlayStation adjacent that it's close enough in my head. I mean, same with Solid Snake, right? Or like Metal Gear in my head is sort of like old school PlayStation, even though that obviously the Metal Gear that franchise went on to go pretty much everywhere. But I really wanted Kratos, but I don't see that happening. I feel like PlayStation doesn't really talk to Nintendo in the same way Nintendo doesn't talk to Fortnite. Like there's or
Microsoft even to Nintendo. They seem to be more chummy than
Sony. And you're right that like Joker's in it from Persona 5, right? But like that doesn't. Joker is great, and I love that character, but like he's not really a PlayStation icon, despite Persona 5 being PS4 exclusive, right?
Right.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that continues to be, the, no pun intended, ultimate celebration of the industry. I think, like I said before, like Fortnite's kind of coming close, but it's also like that's grabbing stuff from like all over pop culture and all over, sort of mass market media everywhere. Like Mega Ran, who's like one of my favorite rappers.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, he tweeted out a photo today of like the Mandalorian sitting in the Warthog from Halo in Fortnite, and it's like, okay, well, this like they're doing their own Smash Brothers style thing over there, but like seeing Final Fantasy VII characters show up in this game is just like it is so perfectly iconic, and to take somebody like Sephiroth and put him in this game I think it puts such a bow on like FF7 as a whole and Final Fantasy as a whole. And to just like have that as part of Smash is just so damn cool. I love the trailer reveal and everything too. Like that's a big part of it for me is like the sort of the cinematography behind all that, like the sort of pomp, and especially around the Game Awards, it just felt so right. And yeah, I think it's awesome. But yeah, I wanted Kratos. But I'm so happy.
Fun fact that trailer for Sephiroth is actually canon to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So
oh wow.
Great.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Nomura.
Yeah.
The only thing that like is even slightly disappointing to me about the Sephiroth reveal, because I am really excited about him as a character, is that I loved seeing. It's kind of to Brian's point. Like I love seeing new franchises enter this game, and because we already had Cloud, it feels like a little bit of like a. Oh, okay, it's not a new thing. It's an exciting thing, but it's not like what weird next franchise is going to join Smash Bros. So that's the only disappointment I have with this, to be honest, is that part.
Yeah,
and
I'm
it's
totally
not even
with
like
you.
a big disappointment.
Yeah, whereas like if you got something like Mando, you would get all new stage music, flair to it. Like
yeah.
And thankfully, like I said, like Final Fantasy VII was of the franchises in Smash Bros. Was kind of the thinnest already. So like there's tons of room to grow there. It's not like a disappointment by any means. It's just like, Kratos would have been like the more like, whoa, this is a whole new game series coming into it right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can play as Kratos or Master Chief technically on your Switch since they're in Fortnite now.
That's so weird.
It is a little bit. Yeah. It is a little bit crazy, but I wanted to make sure that. I mean, I'm sure everybody already knows this. Final Fantasy VII is available on Switch. It's the PC version that they put out, but you can also play Final Fantasy IX, which after 6 is the best Final Fantasy game. And
while I have you all, I think they should put Samus in Fortnite. Just gonna say that I think she fits.
Ooh. You know what? I am into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer that a lot more than like a weird tall Mario. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think about like Waluigi with a machine gun, which I want for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
For my fan fiction, but I think that I think Samus makes perfect sense in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
You heard it here first. there was some other news, of course. They're making a Ghosts and Goblins remake or remaster. Brian, you don't sound like too stoked on that one.
Well, no, because like it's so much easier for me to just love something or not love something. But I wish I had live streamed the emotional roller coaster I went on seeing that logo, which is like, so that is like, I love that franchise. That is like the original Soulsborne from it predates Bloodborne in so many ways. You know, like it was one of my favorite games I got around the Super Nintendo launch, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Brutally difficult. Like that game is so hard that like when you beat it, it says no, you didn't. It makes you start all over again. Like the art direction's awesome. The pixel art's awesome. I love the horror theme. I love the music. I love the fact that like you get hit and you're butt naked running, or you know, and boxer shorts running around a graveyard, like fighting skeletons and ghouls.
I mean, we've all been there.
And they showed us this logo, and it's Capcom, and I'm like, yes, one of my favorite franchises is back. And then we saw the art direction for it, and I was just like, oh, it's so ugly. Like, and I hate putting negativity like that out in the world, but it's just not a good looking game.
It was weird, and I had the same emotional roller coaster. Ghosts and Goblins is one of those games where I have fond memories of everything except for the frustration of playing it. Right, like that was the game where I got to the end and I said, "Are you effing kidding me?" Do it again. And after failing so many times, and the music just when it goes it's so great. You're right. I think they were going for a look of kind of like, you know, illuminations from old medieval like books and stuff, right? It has this kind of paper cutout look to it, but like the design, like the actual tech and the coloring and everything is pleasing, but the actual design of the characters, there's something off, right? Like I can't explain it either. And it's like, partially it's because we know this game so well and we know what they're supposed to look like. And then when it looks different, you're like, that's not right.
Yeah. I think you totally nailed it.
I have hopes that once you play it, you kind of like your eyes get used to it being different and it'll be a fun experience, because it is vibrant and colorful and kind of cool looking in the kind of paper cutout way. But man, like the art design, it hit me too.
I think you're totally onto something. Like I think that they're in the right direction aesthetically, and I don't expect it to necessarily be pixel art, because I understand that that's an entirely more complicated art form in so many different ways. And you know, it's also cool when games move on and try new art directions, right? But it reminds me a lot of the kind of like Xbox Live Arcade stuff we saw around the 360 era, where we would get like ports that had like weird like sort of Photoshop cutout filters on them, or like posterized filters on them, and it was like very iconic things that we loved filtered through an art direction that was designed specifically to fit underneath the like weird data cap of what XBLA games were. And which is fine. Like a lot of very interesting creative decisions come from that. I mean, some of the most interesting art directions and art of all in video game history comes from being bottlenecked by a cap. It's the reason Mario has a mustache, is because like they try to put a mouth there and it didn't make sense. They're like, give him a mustache, and then it works.
It's an eternal scream.
Yeah. Otherwise, she's just like, but yeah, I will play it. I'll give it a shot. I'm hoping that this is one of those things that maybe enough people are like, hey, can you fix the art direction? And they do.
No way, man. Like I know the screens we've seen, every boss looks wrong to me. It would be a lot of work. And by the way, this is not a straight remake of Ghosts. It's got Ghouls and Ghosts mixed in, so it's like a mash up kind of homage based on those games. So it's not 100% remake with different art.
Okay. I mean, we saw what Bloodstained got a completely different art direction like a month before launch. That was weird, but they did.
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And then with that though, the original arcade game returns too, right? Like Capcom announces like crazy arcade collection as well. That's really cool. I'm a little worried about the pricing there, how you kind of like the nickel and dime you for the games, right?
Well, it looks like you'll be able to purchase packs basically that have like 9 or 10 games in them, which I think is both smart and not great, because you end up dropping X amount of money on a bunch of games that maybe you want some, maybe you don't want others. But that's probably, I think that's a little better to build out your arcade than having to like walk in and buy each game individually.
That's true.
Yeah, I wish they had just like given like a $50 or $60 option where you can just get all of them, you know.
And maybe they'll do something like that. Maybe they'll have something like a whole pack. But look, Capcom has some freaking awesome arcade games in their history, and just playing 1942, those games as they were meant to be played, rather than the kind of like the frequent console ports that we've seen, like getting the arcade versions hopefully properly done. I think that's really cool. I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just if they're listening, and I'm sure that Capcom listens every week, bring back that Bionic Commando remake. That was awesome. Bring that to Switch.
Oh yeah,
that one was super good. That was one of those Summer of Arcade games that came out. So another big NVC news is Monster Hunter Rise, and our biggest Monster Hunter fan is not here, but she apparently had some great reaction footage that I completely forgot.
We should try and grab that sometime. Yeah, she was live streaming because she can't play games right now, right? And type and all that. She was live streaming her reactions to the Game Awards, and the moment Monster Hunter Rise came on, I could tell it was a Switch game because it looked a little bit less glamorous than the other games revealed. And then, it was clear that it was Monster Hunter, and I really just wanted to find Casey and see her reaction. Even if you're not into Monster Hunter, this is such a big deal for Japan. These games fuel the success of the Switch, and the Switch fuels the success of the Monster Hunter franchise, just like the PSP used to. It's just such a big franchise for that market. But it does also look like a step up above the remake that we've gotten.
Yeah, and the headline, or the most exciting kind of bit that got revealed, because they've shown off a lot of this game already. The most exciting bit that got revealed for me at the Game Awards is that they're going to have a demo in January, which is I'm just very pleased. Nintendo seems to be putting more and more weight behind like these like cool demos. Like hopefully this is a good one too. Hopefully maybe they'll let your progress transfer over like they did with Pikmin and Age of Calamity. Like I'm just glad that we're seeing more demo support out of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Tom, there's something else you're excited about.
Yeah, I wanted to really quickly mention this, but because it was kind of weird in the Game Awards, Disco Elysium, the final cut, got announced, and they revealed it as like PS5, PS4. But what wasn't mentioned during the Game Awards trailer is that it's also coming to Xbox and Switch in like Q3 of 2021. And Disco Elysium, for those who don't know, is like a point-and-click adventure game that was like one of the best RPGs to come out. I think it came out last year.
Yeah.
It was just super good. It's super weird, and it's really exciting that it's coming to Switch, and it's coming with the final cut version is like new quests and more VO, and yeah, it's really exciting. So Disco Elysium is one you should have on your radar for the end of next year for sure.
I hope it translates well to the Switch, because the art is so gorgeous, right? It's not a taxing game technically to run on the Switch, I think, right? Because it's overhead perspective and looks hand drawn and all of that. But storage wise, hopefully it doesn't get compressed too much. I think this could be a really good one to play on Switch if you haven't tried it yet.
No, totally. I hope the controller. I don't know if it had controller support on PC already, but I hope the control scheme is fine. It's not like an action game in any way, so like hopefully that'll just make it easier to smoothly transition. But yeah, Disco Elysium is a really good game that you should really, really be happy is coming to Switch, because there's not many games like that on Switch either.
Fine, I'll check it out in Q3 2021.
Yeah, it's a while.
You got nothing to do then.
Oh yeah, there's nothing going on in the Q3.
Probably still playing Flight Simulator then.
They're constantly supporting that game, but it's not on a Nintendo platform, so I can't talk for 3 hours like I want to about my throttle quadrant that is sitting over there.
Maybe Flight Simulator will be in Smash Brothers. Then you can. Can
you set up Can you set up like a flight in Flight Simulator to just fly itself and then just sit in a chair and play Switch like you would in a regular airplane? Because I want to do that so bad. That's like the mundane stuff I really miss.
Somebody actually did that, because on one of the jetliners, one of the camera views is just looking out the window, like you have a window seat. And so they just like took a picture of themselves sitting in a chair playing Nintendo Switch while, Nebraska was underneath of them as they flew from New York to San Francisco.
I really hope this would be so like Inception, but I really hope Switch gets that. Did you guys see that really mundane flying game where you're a passenger? Like riding. You guys, it's like it's a flight simulator, but you're a passenger in coach, and you're stuck. I
did.
Yes. Yeah, and you can fiddle with your you can watch like royalty free television on the screen in front of you. You can call the and you get like food delivered. There's a crying baby. You can like play games and stuff like that. But you just basically simulate like a 6-hour flight in real time, and I miss that.
It's like Desert Bus.
Yeah, it would be funny if that was on Switch, because that's the kind of game like I would play that on an airplane. It's just that would be
very
great.
meta.
Well, let's talk about games that actually are on Switch, which was Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, which I don't think we've talked about yet on this show since it came out. And
how is that possible?
I think we weren't on.
Timing was just bad, and the way things like shook out. But I finally got it, and I started playing it. I've never played this kind of game before. I didn't play the last one. I kind of knew what to expect going in, but I was pretty fresh, and this game is extremely my jam. Like, you just run around and enemies go flying everywhere when you throw 40 sword attacks at them, and then it tells you how many of them you knocked out. It's got everything I want. Numbers, flying enemies,
elves.
I'm not very far into it. I only got it like Tuesday night, but yeah, so far I'm really into just smashing into other enemies and making them fly everywhere with my magic powers.
For me, it's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions with that game. There are a lot of things that I really like, and I do think in many ways it's a step up from Fire Emblem and the last Hyrule Warriors, not the full Fire Emblem games, never. But my issue with this game is that it aspirationally tries to do something that the old Switch hardware just doesn't want to do, and like the feeling of slashing at enemies and pulling off these amazing combos, which there's so many in that game, so many cool characters too. It just doesn't feel as good as any of the Zelda games where you slash at a character because the performance is so bad. Like, the frame rate really drops. And so sometimes you lose sight of the action, not because you're not doing a good job with the camera. It's like the game just kind of chugs, and it's a real bummer. If this was on, the next Switch, more capable hardware, that game design would work. But this whole, hundreds of enemies attacking at once thing is not the greatest fit for this platform, I think.
Yeah, it like chugs pretty early on, which is very surprising.
A lot.
Like a lot. Yeah, I was sort of taken aback by that. And it's interesting because Link's Awakening had similar or not similar, because it's a very, very different game, but it had frame rate issues as well that never got patched out. So that's like two kind of big Zelda games in a row that can't really run on Switch in the way we want them to, or I think in the way audiences expect. I'm a little surprised that this wasn't like scoped slightly differently to maintain the hardware. Like, I'm playing, I played like 10 hours of Cyberpunk on PC, and then I switched over to PS5 to check it out. And it's like, there's obviously like, you take a step back a little bit, but your brain knows that there's a better version, or way better versions of it that exists. But with this game, like, this is really the only way you can play it right now. There isn't like a Super Switch or a Switch Pro. So it does feel a little interesting that it wasn't scoped slightly differently to sort of run, given the confines of the Switch's hardware.
Yeah, but maybe this is also, something got delayed out of the Q4 window for Nintendo, and so Hyrule Warriors, hey, can you guys get this thing done in time for November? And so maybe it filled a gap. But it's like, for all the performance issues, there's a lot of really cool stuff in it, and like some of the bigger combos, and when you fill your meter and you just go kind of berserk on people, it is really fun to do. The characters feel very different, right? Like the way Impa uses the runes versus Mipha doing the kind of like the attacks through the fountains and all of that. It feels different. All of it is interesting. I'm always a big fan of the, kind of like looking at the whole map and then assigning your friends to go after a certain enemy, or, clearing a certain area. Like, that sort of multitasking, I think, is pulled off really well. And then it's a celebration of Zelda, right? Like it's a collection of music, of enemies from Breath of the Wild. They really thought about the kind of like the feel and the atmosphere, when you access the map, that it mirrors Breath of the Wild, but also the different things you can do, like that involve cooking and upgrading your weapons. And so it's a really cool celebration of Breath of the Wild but for me, it never even gets close to the greatness of that game. You know?
That goes without saying.
And Breath of the Wild is actually not a combat game; it's an exploration game, right?
Yeah.
And still, Breath of the Wild's combat runs circles around this, I feel.
Well, because I think what's interesting about Breath of the Wild is that it does make there's a lot of conflicts in that game that do feel significant. Like it is a game about sort of like quiet minimalism that is, intercut with like a giant creature coming out of the ground for the first time and fighting you. No. And there's something interesting there. Even playing on like master mode, like every conflict has this life or death weight to it. And having, even one-on-one battles with mobile clients is a big deal. And in this game, they're just like, here's 500 guys, fight them, which is fine. It's totally fine. But it doesn't come close and will never come close to being Breath of the Wild for me. But in terms of like, panning out the lore a little bit more, I think it does a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, like you just remind me of something. Like compare the fights, like the Talus fights between the two games, right? The way it feels to be able to jump on this giant rock enemy in Breath of the Wild versus like they replicate a lot of those elements, and obviously you have a ton more different attacks you can do. But it doesn't have that weight and that impact. And the way Breath of the Wild, like when it blows up, it goes like like the way it wraps up, the fights feel more meaningful. And maybe that's appropriate because in Hyrule Warriors, there's like a bottomless pit of Bobo-Clines that bokoblins, he knows, that come at you. And it is a different feel. I'm digging it. Like I would give this game a 7 out of 10, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think most of my complaints are just with the performance and how that breaks the feel.
Yeah, I feel like as like a big Breath of the Wild, real quick, I was just gonna say, as a Breath of the Wild fan, like I feel like I got Immortals Phoenix Rising and I got this Age of Calamity, and it just feels I'm just like, it's like, this is too hot, this is too cold, and then Breath of the Wild 2 will come out and I'll be like, this is just right.
Yum.
Like, yeah. Sorry.
Do you have anything to say, Tom, on the subject of Age of Calamity? No.
I unfortunately haven't been able to spend as much time in this game as I've wanted to yet, to be honest.
Right.
I really do want to go back and play it, but I've been
cyberpunking.
I've been playing a lot of other games.
Oh yeah, that's right. You just wrapped a huge review, one of like
probably the biggest of your career.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about other news, Nintendo news. The NPDs actually came out this morning, and Nintendo sold this unbelievable.
The NPDs.
NPDs. I love that. That's how I got started. Was I told Mitch Dyer, it's like, hey man, I like the NPDs. I'll always write about them, and so he started making that my thing. I
love them so much. It's like I've always been saying, and I've never been like I hated math class. I don't really care about data for the most part. I've just been winging it through most of my life. I love NPD. What a wonderful day. Because the numbers never lie. Like, it's like, no matter what, people are like, oh, Xbox, oh, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Nintendo Switch sold 1.3 million hardware units in November, which is probably not surprising given the fact that you couldn't get your hands on a PS5 or an Xbox, but it's also kind of surprising because that means it's been the best-selling video game console for 2 years consecutively. 24 consecutive months. The Nintendo Switch is the best. And 6.92 million units in 2020 so far this year, which is like half the Switch or the Wii U. Rest in peace. I love you.
Yeah, no, just about. And that's with, significant supply constraints at the beginning of the pandemic when things hit in March and April and people were like, I need a Nintendo Switch now,
that's actually, it's important that you bring that up because most of the summer you still couldn't get a Nintendo Switch for MSRP. Like we would tweet out on the IGN deals when they came into stock in the same way that we do that now with the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, because it was so like desirable and everyone just wanted to get it. It was so hard to get. And then Animal Crossing, of course, everybody was playing Animal Crossing. Everybody had to get a Switch. So yeah, it would have been a larger number. What was that, Pear?
And Seth, is the Fortnite system that they released now globally, is that readily available now, or is it still selling out all the time?
I think that was a very limited thing, and I haven't seen it in stock. It has come into stock again at Amazon once or twice since Cyber Monday, but these numbers don't include the Fortnite one, because that came out. That was a Cyber Monday bundle. After. Yep. Came out this month.
Did you get those Joy-Cons, Pear?
I sure do.
That's awesome.
That was actually, I wanted to know, are you getting the American version? Because I know you imported the European version.
No, I only imported I only bought the Joy-Con. Somebody sold them for $100 on eBay, right? When the UK version came out, the dollar was strong against the pound too. So that's not much more expensive than regular Joy-Con. Now they're going for like 160, 180 and stuff.
Wow.
So if you just want the Joy-Con, yeah. Yeah, it sucks having to buy a whole new system if you want Joy-Con, of course. That is the prettiest combo, I think. Both colors are really good.
Yeah. And I like the little bus on the detail on the Joy-Con itself.
Bus.
Do we know the breakdown between Switch and Switch Lite? Like they don't really reveal that data, right?
They're just happy to have them all in one big happy family.
Yeah, I mean, the regular Switch outsells the Switch Lite.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is that we've been theorizing for years now. Oh, what does Nintendo do to compete with PS5 and Xbox Series X? And nothing. They just have units available in a store to buy.
Yeah, that's kind of what
that's the secret. I mean, like it's kind of fascinating to watch. I will say too, like it's as somebody who does love NPD, it's been super frustrating for 7 years having Microsoft not report numbers at all. Like that totally sucks.
Well, they did report numbers until their numbers weren't as good.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? We're just not going to report numbers. Who wants to hear numbers? They get up in your head and they mix you up.
And to that point, like Brian, we've been speculating what Nintendo's going to do to compete with the other things. And part of that is just having units on shelves. And I think the other part of that is that the other companies had to adapt to COVID in a way that Nintendo didn't really have as much pressure to do, and Microsoft didn't have Halo this year. They didn't have any of their exclusives, and so like ostensibly they're not really competing with a big Microsoft killer because Microsoft didn't have a killer to sell, right?
That's
like,
true.
The system itself is exciting and yada yada yada, and it's going to get new games soon. But like right now, Nintendo was just like saying, "Hey, we have this giant library of games, like." And buy the system, you know, like that's
and also great. It's $299,
right?
As opposed to $499 if you're lucky enough to grab one for the 3 seconds it's available.
You look at like some of their biggest games this year, and they're really only playable on Switch. I mean, aside from Mario 64, which they were definitely like, put that out there, get some money, which is great. You know, I love it.
Most pre-ordered game in IGN commerce history.
Crazy.
And that was only available for pre-order for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's because you're counting it on N64 and the Wii and the game.
No. I mean, okay,
he's making a joke, Seth.
Okay. Sometimes I forget. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I don't mean to ruin your improv.
I do that myself. Don't worry.
Yes, and Age of Calamity came in at number 6 for November, but granted, Call of Duty is always the top selling game when it comes out, and it came out in November. It's also becomes instantly the top selling game of the year. I don't know if that was the case this year, but it's also important to note that Nintendo, for some reason, doesn't report digital sales to NPD. So this is only for physical sales. I don't know what it is for Nintendo, but digital is about 50-50 now.
Digital is really big for Nintendo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then, you know, it probably was higher than that, but they're like, we don't want you to see into our secrets.
I imagine digital went up across the board this year.
Oh yeah.
Like any chance. I mean, I've been mostly, or if not all, digital for years now, but it's just like to not have to put on a mask and get in a car and go to a store and wait in a line and wash your hands. You just click a button and you're downloading the game. The closest we have to really understanding like what kind of digital numbers they're doing, or at least rankings, is the eShop. And that's such anecdotal data because it's like you can be like, Mario is popular, but so is Overcooked. And you're like, well, how many copies is that?
Yeah, their quarterly reports include the digital sales. So when you see that nice ranking that they always put together in their earnings report, that's the one with digitals in it.
That's another thing I love. Yeah. Our quarterly reports.
Me too. And then sometimes you'll get like an indie developer will be like, we sold 5 times as many units on Switch as we did on PS4 plus PC minus Xbox. And if a train is going 70 miles an hour in one direction, and you're like,
oh yeah.
Just tell us the numbers. Yeah. No, it's huge. It's huge. It's awesome. It's awesome for Nintendo. Obviously, Per and I are old. We've been covering the show through the good and the bad times, right? Like it was, we did the show during the Wii U era where we would spend entire episodes being like, the Rosalina amiibo has outsold all of the Nintendo games this year.
Did you happen to notice during the Game Awards last night when Reggie Fils-Aimé was giving the accessibility award, and he said, we've always thought it was important with the Wii, the 3DS, and the Switch to be accessible. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Except for the Wii U. Yeah.
Except for the Wii U. Yeah. More news. Persona 5 Strikers is getting a 2021 Western launch. Tom is stoked on that. February 23rd. That's like right around the corner.
Soon.
Oh, yeah.
So Tom, this is a soccer game, right? With Persona characters.
Yeah. No.
I keep thinking the same. Is that like your brain is like the Mario Strikers thing, right? Yeah. Every time I see this, I'm like, oh, they're playing soccer. That's sweet.
Well, they renamed it from the Japanese version, right? Because the Japanese version is called Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers.
Tilde asterisk exclamation mark.
Night of 100 moons and a half.
Yeah.
But Scramble, right, is a reference to the Shibuya Scramble, that crossing in Japan.
That's right.
And so that's like not a reference that would necessarily translate. And to me, like Persona 5 Scramble reads as like a puzzle game to my American ears for some reason.
Yeah.
So like Persona 5 Strikers, I guess, is more like communicates action game in my mind, or soccer if you're a Nintendo fan. But this is coming out finally because it came out a year ago in Japan, and we got that there was a Japanese eShop demo when it came out that was like really fun, and I'm really excited that it's getting the whole voice cast back, and it's got a date, and it's soon, and I'm just thrilled. I'm really, really excited to play this game.
Yeah. You can get a Persona 5 Scramble at Denny's right now. So head on down there and sorry, this is very bad.
Seniors eat for free on Sundays.
I had to get it out of my brain. And now you're all dealing with it. Sorry.
Another game, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, gets a 2021 release date, January 14th. Again, right around the
super
corner.
Soon. Yeah.
It's
this game rules. I love this game so much. I'm not even like a big Scott Pilgrim guy. This is one of my favorite co-op beat 'em ups of all time. It's so awesome.
I missed it the first time around, and I'm like really excited to play this one on Switch.
Yeah, I think it's on the hard drive of my original Xbox or something.
Yes, same.
Yeah. It's still on my PS3.
There you go.
Taking it back to the old school.
Yeah,
let's talk about out this week. Yesterday, because we had to delay recording because there was some news that happened last night. But yesterday, Accidental Queens Collection, Evolution board game, Octofight, and Alt Frequencies. Tom has played and beat all of them and given them a score.
I don't think.
I gotta say, not a lot. There were not a lot of games this week on this list that jumped out at me. I will say though, one other game that did come out yesterday, not on your list, is called Pixel Junk Eden 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's a sequel to one of Pixel Junk Eden was like one of my favorite PS3 downloadable games when it first came out a million years ago. I haven't played Pixel Junk Eden 2, but I loved the first one, so that's definitely one to keep an eye on too.
And that came out yesterday?
Yeah, on the 10th.
Oh, well, shoot. Look at me on my first time blowing a big reveal.
How could you?
I was just so excited about next week for the Collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend collection, which I know I will buy. I will play the first hour of each of the games, and then I'll never play them again because that's just kind of how I am. But I remember reading, there was like a graph in Nintendo Power of all the different mutants and the food that you would eat them and what it would turn them into. And I was like 10 at the time, and it just excited my brain like nothing else before it.
The Saga games weren't the Saga games weren't big in Japan, in the US at all, right? I remember people lining up for them in Japan when I lived there. They were, not quite as big as Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, but there were definitely, there was always a line and a lot of attention when a new one came out.
Yeah, no, they were. I mean, that's why they're called Final Fantasy Legend here, because they were trying to just like ride the coattails of Final Fantasy, which Nintendo had just published, I think, like earlier that same year. I don't remember if that went well, but there's actually Jeremy Parrish is on his Game Boy Works, did a really good episode about the first one, like just recently. I just watched it, so I shouldn't have said that. I should have just pretended I was an expert, and but oh well, I don't get any of that. And then next, the day after that, we get Synthetic Ultimate. I know you guys are dying for that one. Tom, you're gonna.
Yeah, no, I was also going to shout out one other that came out, I think on Tuesday, was Ghost Runner, which is, I know, a game that a lot of people in the office are enjoying. It's like a different cyberpunk game coming out right now where you're like,
yeah.
Ninja that came to Switch?
Apparently on the 9th.
What?
So says the internet. Yeah.
They wouldn't lie. Pear, was there a Puyo Puyo Tetris game? I believe you said that came out as well. Man,
there was. Yeah, I'm playing it right now. No, I was. There's so many games out for the other systems right now. It's hard to find a little bit of time to play the new Switch releases. But I did start playing Puyo Tetris 2. The first one is one of the top puzzle games on the system. Until Grindstone comes out, I hope they do that one justice. But the second one is exactly the same. From my played so far, I can say if you own the first one, you don't need the second one. There is an additional mode. There are tweaks. Obviously, it has an all new adventure with a crazy nonsense story, which is everything is really polished and nicely well done and voice acted. Every single scene. And it's a fantastic multiplayer game. And it's a great online game, but it is very, very similar to the first one. So if you own the first one, don't get it. If you don't own this game and you have at least 2 people in the house that you can play with, it's freaking awesome. You can play only Puyo. You can only play Tetris. You can do Puyo versus Tetris, where the players pick the different games against each other. Or you can do Fusion, where it's Puyo and Tetris pieces mixed, and Tetris pieces crush the Puyos and stuff. And it's
too much for this.
It's a really, really, really good multiplayer puzzle game.
And this game is it's on PS5 also, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Got ray tracing and better draw distance. I don't
60
even
FPS fidelity mode.
It's really cool. It's one of those sequels where the sequel replaces the first one. Like the first one doesn't really have any reason to exist. It's like how the Picross games are very, very similar. All the S games are exactly the same, but you get new puzzles, and in this one, the adventure mode is all.
Yeah, cool. Well, that works well because we can transition right into what we've been playing, and you've been playing.
I've been playing. Oh,
yeah. What have you been playing, real quick, Brian Altano?
Just Cyberpunk. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Tom, I have a feeling I know.
Yeah. I reviewed Cyberpunk last week. For those who don't know, and
everyone should read that review because it's great.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's not coming to Switch. I can just say that in full confidence. But it's basically all I've been thinking about and playing for the last 2 weeks. So that's where my brain is.
For Switch owners hoping that they'll do what they did with The Witcher 3, my Xbox Series X struggles to run this game. They constantly resolution switch. It goes between sharp and blurry. Driving is smooth, but a lot of city scenes with lots of characters really chug. It's not, and CDPR fixes that stuff over time, and we haven't seen a true next gen version yet, right? These are last gen versions being run on next gen systems, but it is very apparent that this would be it would be amazing if they could run this on Switch. So it might be a candidate for the streaming service.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's a good way to frame it, is that this is, I think, pretty unthinkable that it could get even a downgrade that would make it natively run on Switch the way The Witcher did. But, you know, Nintendo's been doing cool stuff with their streaming stuff, so maybe it'll have that chance, because it is, you know, like they announced yesterday that like 8 million people pre-ordered the game. So like clearly this is one of the largest games of recent years, and the Switch is a market that CDPR seems to care about in some way. So maybe they'll try some streaming stuff at some point.
It's on Stadia too, right? So they are doing game streaming already. And like, ironically, if they could stream this at Switch's 720p, if they could stream it from high-powered PCs, the Switch version would look better than the PS5 and the Xbox X versions right now. No, seriously.
That's true.
The game, I really love the game. I love the world. CDPR is so good at crafting stories, but it is a bit of a mess at launch. And like, I've actually contemplated, if it wasn't for Game of the Year voting, I would have just put it away, waited until everything was fixed. I think, Tom, you brought this up as a possible thing for fans to do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can play Witcher on Switch. That's a blast. It's, you know,
and it's got cross save.
It does. That's right. I forgot about that. I have been playing more Pikmin 3. That hasn't left my household. Because I love it, and my kid is obsessed with it, and we are basically going back and 100%ing it. And we started watching, and like, I don't know if you guys know how children consume content, but it's repeatedly until everyone in the house is sick of it. But we put on the short films that they made for Pikmin. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
There's 3 short animated movies, and one's like 2 minutes, and one's like 5 minutes, and one's like 12 minutes. And they are wonderful. If you are a sad old man or a happy child, I suggest you watch these. They are a blast. There you go. Yeah, they're fantastic. Super fun. They're, you know, because they all star Pikmin and Pikmin characters, there's no dialogue outside of like squeaks and grunts and yelling, and it's great. They're super, super adorable and really, really cute and really smart. And I really want I want a whole motion picture of these things. It would be great. So
have you traumatized your kid yet by telling him that Pikmin is actually real, and like if he just got close enough to ladybugs, he would see that they're bulborbs eating tiny little happy carrots?
It's like, it is weird to explain that, like that was based on Miyamoto, like in his garden, seeing like ants carry things, like but like the ghosts, like there's ghosts in those games, like they die and turn into ghosts.
About that,
you know, there's like the spacemen and space women really just like, sometimes they, like during a boss fight you might lose like 40 Pikmin, and it's a thing. It is like, you know, so
there's nothing worse than leaving Pikmin behind at the end of the night, and they just run and watch you fly away, and then the monsters come to devour them, just to tear them asunder.
Even if it's just one of them, and the night, the lights come down, and like you see the guy, it's like,
frankly, what I find worse than that is when it's just like fully your fault. Like one time I was walking through, while I was playing Deluxe for the review, I was walking through a water section with only blue Pikmin and flying Pikmin who are smart enough that they'll just fly above the surface of the water. And then I was fighting a guy, and I pressed charge to charge all my blue dudes at it. And then I accidentally pressed charge again. And if you tell the flying Pikmin to charge an underwater enemy, they will just head first fly into the water. And I was like, no.
The noise when they drown too is the worst.
It's so bad. It's so rough.
It's devastating. It's so funny because in this game you have such a big army of replaceable soldiers, and it still bothers us. They did a really good job making you care for them. It's heartbreaking when you forget to call in one last Pikmin, and they made it much easier to gather your Pikmin at the end of the game, right? They added a feature where you can call them back if they're in range, and it's just sad when the ship takes off and there's a last guy running in and goes, what? And then the freaking bulborbs come in.
Yeah. You'll leave like one yellow Pikmin up on like a volcano somewhere, and you like hit the space button at the end, and they're all like, ah! They brought it back. I'm so glad that they brought this game to Switch, because like I played like 5 hours on Wii U, and I loved Pikmin 1 and 2. Like I put like 100 hours into those games, and I just kind of like forgot about it on Wii U for some odd reason. I was like, I recognized it was good. I think I hit like a wall in one of the levels and was like, I don't know what to do, and then just dropped it. And now I want to like 100% this game. It's fantastic. So for some odd reason, yeah.
The last boss will make you mad.
Yeah, the last boss
is he the ball?
The evil Terminator.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Whoa, sorry.
Yeah. No,
it's Arnold.
Yeah. I think if evil Terminator spoils this game for anybody, then that's like they're very intuitive.
Exactly. Thanks for sticking around. This is Question Block, where we answer questions from you. It's actually a reference to Super Mario.
Oh.
Yeah. Huh?
This you can exclusively reveal today.
Yeah.
Seth, you can't give away these secrets on
damn it.
posting day. Come on.
There's plenty more secrets. You gotta always leave one more.
That's right. We've tried to keep it for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait until we find out what the name of the show is in reference to. That's gonna blow some minds.
Oh man.
Don't tempt him.
Be a while from now. That'll be when Casey comes back and it's my last show. I just spill all the secrets.
Here's the thing.
I thought this was your last show.
Historically, Nintendo didn't really have voice chat for their games.
Okay.
And so, using a little twist of irony, we named the show Nintendo Voice Chat to make a joke of that. So there you go.
You heard it here for
clever. All right, what questions you got?
Questions. We got Travis Crawford. What's up, Travis? Wants to ask, when did you first realize Nintendo was something special to you? He said, I used to sprint home like Marsupilami from my bus stop so I could have a few precious moments on Super Mario Brothers 3 before my older brothers got home in 1996 or so. So I ask you, the panel, when did you... Actually, I want to ask Pear, when did you first realize Nintendo was special to you?
When they put out playing cards, right?
That's right. Back in 1899, when I stayed at a Nintendo Love Hotel, I used the grabber, the Ultra Hand, yes, to get myself some playing cards out of a Nintendo vending machine. And my Nintendo made monocle fell out, and so I've told this story a bunch of times. It's when I studied in Japan, and I bought my now wife and my best friend gifted me a Super Famicom, and I played Super Mario World, and I blazed through it and absolutely loved it. And I went into a store and I looked at the box art of games, and I bought A Link to the Past, and because the art looked cool. And then I'm like, man, there's something to this company. I realized it was from the same game makers, and absolutely just kind of bought everything Nintendo had ever made themselves, and obviously loved the platforms too.
Right on. Tom, what about you? What made you love Nintendo? When did you know?
I don't know.
Right now. Just this minute.
Like, this is a weird thing to explain because, like, I apologize to anybody has a rougher family situation, but like when it's a kind of a question of like, when did you know you loved your brother? Like for me, like I'm younger, right? So like I wasn't born when the NES was released. My first system was the Super Nintendo, and like I've kind of I grew up with my mom like sneaking in, like playing Link to the Past while like me and my brother were asleep because we would play it like during the day, right? Like, and it just like kind of always has been the system, the company that I grew up with and I've loved forever. So there wasn't really a moment where I was like, this is special to me, because it's just literally been there since I was like 1 year old, and I love it dearly. Like, I don't know.
It's just part of your DNA at this point.
Yeah, it's like genuinely, it's like, it's not a love, it's like family. It's just like it is part of my brain at this point.
Wow. What about you, Brian? When did you first know?
That's probably pretty similar for me. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I was a kid when like Nintendo Power was a thing and the NES was a thing, and there was like weird merchandise like Trapper Keeper folders, and the Super Mario Super Show was on TV. So it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment. Like I can tell you, like the first video game I ever played was like my dad lifted me up and I played Donkey Kong in a pizza joint in Jersey City, New Jersey. And I was like, okay, there's a lot going on right now that I'm going to latch onto for the rest of my life.
It's a Springsteen lyric, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was in the Ghost of Tom Joad. The thing about it was that like all of your friends at the same time all become sort of into one thing in unison. And that makes it this really special thing where all of a sudden you go from, I don't know what is Mario? Like, why would that be a thing that a child is interested in, is like a 35 man that, he fixes toilets for a living, to all of a sudden being like, this is the best thing in the world. And there's a movie in theaters where they show the new one. And then there's this weird one where he throws vegetables. Like, what is going on? So it's all of that just kind of in unison. And that just like implanted itself in my brain. Like it's really hard to pinpoint an exact thing because they called it, I think they called it like Nintendo Mania or something. It was like one of those, like, it was just in the same way like where Pokemon just became a thing one day and you couldn't avoid it. It was just everywhere. Like Nintendo just showed up, and it was, like your aunts and uncles would be like, I heard that kids' thumbs are falling off from playing too hard. Like it was all this, it was just culturally just took over everything. Yeah. And that was just totally synonymous with my childhood. Like it was, like you're reading books, you're doing like, there's like sticker books and coloring, and like it's just everywhere. So yeah, I mean, probably like in the couple of months after the NES came out, when every kid in the world, it's all they talked about. So yeah, it was a wonderful time. It was very magical. I'm so glad
I always loved video games. We had a ColecoVision when I was really little, and like an Atari 2600, and then we didn't. But my friends always had like some hand-me-down. They had the 2600, they had an Intellivision, they had an Atari 5200, which was probably the worst. And then one day, my friend Daniel was like, you got to come over. We got this thing. They had rented the NES from the drugstore, and I went over and they were playing Mario. And I was like, holy cow, you can go like one direction and keep moving. He's like, no, jump right here. And there was a secret block. Like, what is this? And that's like it. Like I was hooked from that moment on, like all about Nintendo. And look at me now, folks.
Did you, when you were in the service, did you bring a Game Boy along?
I actually had a Game Boy with me when we were going on a TDY to Missouri. We were building this.
What is that?
A TDY is a temporary duty. And we were going to Whiteman Air Force Base, which is where the B-2 is. We were building a prototype, like giant canvas hangar that you could just go to where there's nothing and build this hangar and land B-2s there. And it was only supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up being like 9 months. And I had a Game Boy with me. We were going through airport security. I didn't know any of the guys I was with at the time. Like we're all like super good friends. We still keep in touch now. But, we're all Air Force construction guys. And the guy's like, would you mind taking that piece of software out of that device? And I was like, oh, yeah. You mean my copy of Pokemon Yellow that all these guys... 4-year-old children are playing, yeah. So, yeah.
That's you my still have bruises.
That is.
No, they all like they kind of knew who I was, and then eventually the guy who gave me the most like grief about it in a joking way was also the guy who happened to be at a Target and found a PS2. This is when PS2 first came out, and there was impossible, and he got me one. Like I had to pay him back, but like just thought of me and like.
Oh, that's
very nice thing. Yeah. Shout out Darren Williams. I know you don't listen to this, but our next question. I really like this question. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name properly, so I apologize to Yanni Pashakis. Here's the question. Blue Point remakes one Nintendo game in the vein of Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus. What is it, Brian?
Oh, I mean... like my gut reaction is Bloodborne, obviously, but since this is a Nintendo podcast, I want to say something like Ocarina of Time or basically like honestly, I feel like if they did Skyward Sword, but they they pulled back a lot of the stuff about it that some people didn't like. That's such a tricky one though, because it's like that's such a make it or break it thing for people. Like some people are they intrinsically connect that game with the Wii Motion Plus and all this other stuff, and so that's a tough one. I mean, I still want like the full remake of Mario 64. I don't necessarily know if I want it to be like hyper realistic, like Blue Point makes a lot of their games. Maybe like that would really. I feel like a Wario game would be more fun, where you can really just see everything that's going on in that man's face. Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, or Skyward Sword. Those are the easy picks for me.
All right, Pear, do you have anything?
I got one. I'm cheating a little bit, but this was a published by Nintendo and released only on the N64 at the time. That's Shadows of the Empire.
I love that game. Everyone gives it so much crap. I love that game.
So parts of it are great, right? Like the Hoth battle, the way the snowspeeder versus the AT-ATs, the way that feels was great, but a lot of the first person missions were not that great. It was clear the developers were struggling with the system. I feel like somebody could remake this and kind of expand it and make it better, and put in a lot of the things that had to be cut out. It has some stuff that you see now mirrored in like Mandalorian, right? Like the IG-88 battle and all of that stuff. And I think they could do a really nice job with it.
The opening of that game is phenomenal, and then there's just like this record scratch where you're in third person, you're running around, you're like, oh. It's like, but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in that game. I'm totally with you. I still really dig the Boba Fett fight in that game is awesome.
Yeah. Tom.
Boba Fett. Where?
His name's Robert Fett.
Okay,
that is true. Robert Fett is
just his close friends. Tom, what?
I think Brian got close to what I was going to say, but not quite. Which is, I think Blue Point's really what sets Blue Point's remakes apart is both kind of the scope of them and their ability to modernize mood in a very good way. So I don't think they should do Ocarina of Time. I think they should do Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
that'd be good.
I think that while Ocarina of Time kind of has a lot of like sort of prestige around it, that you wouldn't be able to like make that game quote unquote better. I think Majora's Mask is a great, well-loved game with rough edges that could really benefit from a modern remake that takes some of the wild stylistic stuff it did and modernizing the graphics on it, taking some of the like gameplay mechanics that are like just a little bit kind of hinky and just like smoothing those out a little bit. I think that Majora's Mask actually could probably like most Zelda games I would not want to see remade just out of sort of like honor to them. And like, I think Majora's Mask could actually be a really, really cool candidate for a remake.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you, you're all wrong. And the answer is Kid Icarus.
Okay.
That's a good one.
All right.
But also I looked at these questions like 2 days ago, so I had all that time to think about it.
Wait, can I change my answer then to the original Ice Climbers?
No.
Oh, get out of here.
One final question. This is from Chris Baker. 'Tis the season to prepare your holiday season to playlist. Which games are making everyone's nice list this year? And Chris says he'll be playing Spiritfarer and continuing his tradition of spending time with Breath of the Wild over the holidays. Sorry, read a little too far ahead there. Brian, what are you going to be playing this jolly holly season?
I don't know. I might go back and finish off 100% the stuff in the 3D All-Stars collection because I got super into that and then got distracted. And they're just so much fun. And it's been a while since I've gotten 120 stars in Mario. I completely forgot watching the Game Awards that we're getting 3D All-Stars, Super Mario 3D World. Stupid naming conventions. Like incredibly soon. And it's going to have all the Bowser stuff in it. So
Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, so I might go back and finish off the 3D All-Star stuff just to get myself in the mood for 3D Mario before that weird collection comes out. So I can't wait for it.
Nice. Tom, how are you going to be spending your holiday gaming time?
Probably across a lot of different things.
Okay.
Like a lot of different things. I'm going to be jumping around a bit. I'm excited to actually spend some time with Age of Calamity. This isn't on Switch yet, but Super Meat Boy Forever finally got a date.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
23rd of this month on PC. So I'm excited to finally be able to play that for real. Yeah, I'm just going to be jumping around a lot.
Right on. Is the original Super Meat Boy on Switch?
I don't know, actually.
I mean, I already own it on every possible platform, but why not give them one more? Pear, do you have any big holiday gaming plans?
Yeah, I'm like Tom. I have a lot of games to catch up on other consoles. Right, we had the 2 new consoles come out, obviously. So I'm done with Spider-Man, and I'm making my way through Assassin's Creed. I'm trying to find time for Watch Dogs and Demon Souls and all that. It's just too much, and I don't know how to do it all. Obviously, Cyberpunk as well. But for my Nintendo playtime, I want to go back and finish Xenoblade. It's a game that I really, really liked, and like something always gets in the way of me actually finishing that game. This is a second take on it, so I'm going to try to get back to it. I would like to also finish Pikmin again. I finished that game before twice already, but I'd love to finish it on Switch and then play some of the Mario games. And then Hyrule Warriors is still sitting around, but the one I really want to play is Xenoblade.
Yeah, I think I might do the same, actually, because it's the exact same thing. I started it and something else happened. And I was like, damn it, I'm never going to finish this game. So yeah, I say that, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to prestige
play
up
Flight Simulator
in Call of Duty. Yeah. Or I'll play Flight Simulator. I'll just do a 6-hour flight. And then, like Brian said, I'll just look out the window the whole time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Put on my Bluetooth.
Play some Switch with the Wi-Fi off. You're in the airplane.
Oh yeah, that's it. Thank you, Pear, Brian, Tom, for joining me for my premiere episode of Permanent Temporary Hosting Duty. This has been Nintendo Voice Chat. Thank you all for listening and supporting us and being nice on social media, which I love, and it's so surprising and fresh to get people saying nice things. So keep doing that, particularly to me. Say nice things to me. I like that most of all. You can say nice things to everyone else too.
No, just say nice things to Seth.
Just
Seth is fine. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate that. This is NVC, and it is the only place where you can
get the thing.
The thing.